Too loud or new to tennis? Alex, Eala, and Filipino fans. There's a debate going on about whether Filipino tennis crowds are too loud, whether the support feels unruly, more like boxing or basketball than tennis. I understand where that sentiment comes from. For many Filipinos, this world is still new. We're learning the rhythms, the etiquette, the pauses. But what often gets missed, especially in online discussions, is this: we are learning and we are listening. I had the privilege of watching Alexandra Eala play at the ASB Classic this year. I'm a Filipino immigrant living in Auckland, and truth be told, I had never cared much for the tournament before. ASB Classic is an annual January fixture in the city, but for someone like me, who grew up in the Philippines, sports meant basketball and volleyball. Like many Filipinos, I watched Manny Pacquiao's fights religiously. As a reporter back home, I was often assigned to barangays where neighbors gathered around a single television to watch Pacquiao's fights, sometimes pooling resources so everyone could watch together. Tennis, on the other hand, always felt distant, not difficult to understand. Anyone can follow the scoring, but culturally elite. I knew the big names: Serena Williams, Maria Sharapova, Novak Djokovic, but I never followed their careers. Tennis wasn't for people like me, or so I thought. At work, I heard plenty about ASB Classic because of my Vietnamese colleague Lynn, a keen club player who even volunteered at the tournament. Still, I remained indifferent. Until this year. This year, I was invested because a Filipino was playing. The young woman who had been making headlines in Guadalajara and Miami, who had represented the Philippines and won gold in the Southeast Asian Games, who kept appearing on my social media feed, was stepping onto center court. Suddenly, tennis felt personal. I found myself alongside another Filipino colleague, scrambling to buy tickets for her first singles match against Croatia's Paris Olympic silver medalist Donna Vekic. The price was eye-watering. I have never paid that much to watch a game. I wouldn't even pay that much for a concert. But there I was, determined. I was on the bus heading home when the ASB Classic released the schedule: Alex versus Donna, center court, evening match. I messaged my husband immediately. He was already home and at his computer, trying to secure tickets for the four of us. Seats were disappearing by the second. He stopped looking at the price and clicked buy. Somehow we got them. The next evening, as we queued outside center court and made our way in, the anticipation finally settled into something real. Before we reached our seats, my husband asked if any of us had ever watched a live tennis match before. We said no. He paused and smiled, half practical, half protective, and said there were rules we needed to know. Tennis, he explained, had a different etiquette. You don't cheer during serves. You clap after points. You keep it measured. This wasn't football. He was thinking of the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup, when Filipinos everywhere came out in full voice for the national team. We were there too, cheering with abandon, hearts on our sleeves. This would be different. And it was. Throughout the match, the crowd, largely Filipino, followed the rules almost to the letter. No flags. ASB Classic security confiscates them. No chants midpoint. Just applause when points were won. As I shared photos and videos from the match on social media, my former desk editor in the Philippines asked if they could repost them, which I agreed to. When they followed up asking if I could interview Alex's fans in the stands or do an FB Live, my response was, I can't tahimik pakasi. Tuwing may points lang pumapalakpak. The Filipino crowd only clapped when a point was won. It wasn't until Alex struck a stunning cross-court winner that spontaneous cheers broke out. And to my surprise, it was the New Zealanders around us, including my husband, who stood first. They clapped. They cheered. As Alex mounted a comeback in the second set, and as the final set tightened, Filipino supporters began to cheer more openly, not disruptively, not disrespectfully, just encouragement. And something beautiful happened. The Kiwis around them joined in. By the end of the match, the entire stadium was on its feet, everyone cheering, everyone invested. That moment matters. For me, watching that match wasn't just about tennis. It was the first time I felt like my community didn't need to whisper to belong. For the longest time, Filipinos abroad have learned to adjust, to blend in. to be invisible in plain sight. We are often described as the ideal immigrants, quiet, smiling, caring, hardworking, never demanding space. Governments welcome Filipinos because we don't arrive to conquer. We arrive to contribute. That is the reality many of us grew up with. So when someone like Alex steps onto a global court carrying the Philippine flag, something shifts. Filipino communities take leave from work. They pay exorbitant ticket prices. They travel, wait, just to show up for a young Filipina carving space in an elite sport that never imagined her there. That isn't noise. That's presence. Alex herself understands this deeply. Speaking during the ASB Classic, she reflected that home is a people, not the place. In that moment, center court in Auckland felt exactly that. Home, not because of geography, but because of who showed up. Alex isn't just a tennis player. She represents a cultural awakening. And for those who insist Filipinos should behave the way proper tennis crowds do, it's worth noting the history plainly. Tennis was codified in Europe, shaped in elite British and European social clubs, and exported to the rest of the world through colonial systems. The norms often defended as tradition were never culturally neutral to begin with. The sport is changing. Players from the Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, Mexico, and beyond are arriving. With them come new audiences, new energy, new futures, and new markets. The inaugural Philippines Women's Open 2026 will make that shift visible. It will be a moment to see how tennis is shaped when Filipino fans engage with the sport on their own terms, in their own city. Expecting these communities to leave their identity at the gate just to be welcomed into the sport isn't about respect. It's about preserving an old order. The real question isn't whether Filipinos are too loud, but whether tennis is ready to evolve. Even from a business perspective, the numbers point in the same direction. Tournaments like the ASB Classic and the Australian Open are seeing record-breaking attendance and sold-out courts. Engagement around Alex consistently trends. Her Australian Open pre-match press conference alone surpassed 180,000 views and continues to climb. These new fans are engaged, loyal, and willing to invest emotionally and financially in the sport. Filipinos have always bent themselves to fit the mold when living abroad. Maybe this time, it's okay to meet us halfway, not as an accommodation, but as an acknowledgement that the game has entered a new era with a new audience. Filipino fans supporting Alex are not disruption. This is evolution happening in real time. After all, we're not just watching the game, we're helping it grow.